Hi beauties, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about my current favorite makeup brushes. So if you'd like to find out more, then just keep watching. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for joining me for today's video. And if you're new to my channel, go ahead and click that subscribe button and turn on your post notifications. That way you won't miss any of my uploads. I'm having a big hair day. I'm having a Diana Ross moment. It's a marathon day today, and you're going to see me looking like this 2 or 3 times. I just finished filming a video trying out my JLo Beauty products. So I do have these products on underneath my makeup right now. I'm liking the results right now. I wanted to shout these out again. I also wanted to mention really fast, you guys remember I received the signature collection from House of Sillage. That's how you say it in French. I thought it was Sillage, but the L's are Y's, okay? So House of Sillage sent this to me, and I have been using these fragrances, and oh boy, I do have a, I believe, 25% discount code. So this is $100, but you can get this for $75 if you use my code. And I have checked, the code only works for this sampler. One that I really like right now is Passion. The one that is Passion, I've used a couple of times, and I really like the way that one smells. But one of the benefits of getting this sampler is that you can actually try them out, see which ones you really like before committing to a large bottle. I'm quite impressed with these fragrances. Sillage is referencing how the fragrance lingers. You leave a trail of fragrance behind whenever you kind of walk past. The amount of perfume oil that's in the fragrance contributes to how long it lasts and how little you have to use in order to actually smell it. Certainly recommend this if you are in the market for a new fragrance. So now let's go ahead and talk about the makeup brushes that I'm loving. First, I want to talk about 3 sets that I love. I washed all of these a couple of days ago, so it was a little difficult doing my makeup today because I had to use other brushes. This is the SONIA G eye set. They are handcrafted Japanese brushes, and they are made of dyed and undyed goat hair. I have the Builder Pro, the Classic Crease, Worker Pro, Pencil Pro, and the Blender Pro. The one that I use the least is the Classic Crease brush. I just don't have a super defined crease, and I don't use that brush that often, but this is sort of like a flat brush for applying eyeshadow to the lid. This, you can kind of work the product and blend the product in the outer V or into the crease a little bit. That's sort of what that brush is for. This is a fluffy blending brush for blending all over the crease area, the transition area, but larger amounts of product and blending it. And again, I don't use the crease brush that much, but if you have a more defined eye, like I have a hooded eye, but if you have a little bit more defined eye and you have a crease, this would be wonderful for applying product in the crease. And then this is a pencil brush that I sometimes use to highlight the inner corner or apply product underneath the lash line. So I wanted to first point out this eyeshadow brush set because it has just about everything that you need to complete an eyeshadow look. If I had just this brush set, I would be good to go with most eyeshadow looks. I don't know of too many things that I would need to do with my eyes that this brush set wouldn't achieve. So everything you need is right here if you just want to buy a set and not have to think about it. I also have a rephr brush set, and I have a number 1, number 12, 13, 14, and 15. And I can't tell you what the purpose of each brush is. I know that this is sort of a larger pencil brush. You can use this brush the same way that I described using the other pencil brush, except it's larger. And this is sort of a more fluffy blending brush, but this is a little smaller and a little stiffer than the one that I just described. And this is the one that is number 15. The pencil brush is number 12. This seems to be like a little smaller blender, possibly for the crease. It's a little smaller in size. This is a small brush that's sort of like a flat, it's flat on the top and it's small. So I would use this in the corners and in smaller places. And that one is number 13. The other crease brush, like the one that I think would be appropriate for the crease, is number 14. And this brush is a blending brush as well. It kind of reminds me of this one by SONIA G, the Worker Pro. This brush is similar to the Worker Pro, except it's a little fluffier. And this is number 1. And I think this is a popular blending brush that kind of does everything. So this is also a very good natural hair brush set that if you want to remove the thought and don't want to have to think about it, this is a good brush set to get from rephr. And it has natural hair. I believe goat hair is what this is made of. The thing that I think is missing from this brush set is a flat brush for applying like a shimmer or an eyeshadow to the lid. This could turn on its side and work in that way if you need it to, but I prefer something a little thinner that is flat for applying eyeshadow to my lid. So that's the only thing that I kind of think is missing from this brush set. But if you're looking for natural hair brush sets, rephr makes good ones, and I believe you could also buy some of these brushes separately if you wanted to not have to buy the whole set. The final set of brushes is this one by IT Cosmetics, and I've had this a long time, and these are the 3 of the 5 that I use. I think there's an eyeshadow brush and another brush that comes with this. I believe it's 5 in this set, but I use these 3 the most. I use this buffing brush to buff out any harsh lines on my face whenever I complete a makeup look. I didn't use it today because I wanted to keep it clean, but you guys have seen me use this brush many times. This is an airbrush foundation brush. So I use it in that way. It's a foundation brush, but it's sort of fluffy in a way, and I use it in that way, and it gives me an airbrushed appearance. But you can use this for liquid foundation, powder foundation, I believe, if you want to. And then this is an airbrush concealer brush that I use to apply and sometimes buff out nose contour. So it is for concealer, like under the eye and different places on your face, but I use this brush to buff out contour on the nose. I didn't apply contour today, but whenever I do apply it, I use this brush to buff it out. I do have another brush that I use to apply it, but to buff it out and make it look more natural, I will use this brush. So that's my purpose with that brush. And then this is a powder brush, just a simple powder brush. It's light and fluffy and airy, and I still use this brush to apply powder or sometimes dust it off and kind of buff it into the skin or buff it away. The IT Cosmetic airbrush set is also a very good one. If you're looking for more affordable synthetic, these are synthetic brushes, you can get these at Ulta, and this is a great place to start because I actually purchased these in the very beginning when I first started my channel. I was using a lot of Real Technique brushes, and I also was using these, and I still use these. I occasionally will use some of my brushes that are Real Technique brushes, but I wanted to tell you about the brush sets that are available for you. So if you just want to take the thought away, you could really go and buy like this brush set and one of the eye sets, and you are set. You are set. You don't have to really get any more of the others that I'm going to share. So that's where we're starting. And now we're going to go on to some of the individual brushes that I have. I use a lot of high-end natural hair brushes, and I have a few that are a little more affordable that are synthetic, but some of these might be a little bit more expensive too. I'll link everything down below. So I'm going to talk about the synthetic brushes, and then I'll move on to the natural brushes, and I will have these things time-stamped down below. I live between 2 homes, and I keep a lot of the synthetic brushes here, and I take a lot of my natural brushes with me, and I travel them back and forth to use when I'm filming because I really love a lot of those brushes. But these are also very good, and they got me started here on my channel, the synthetic ones, and I still reach for them. So here we go. The airbrush brush by IT Cosmetics is very good. and these are also good, but they are limited edition. But I still wanted to tell you about them because they make these every year, and you may be able to find another buffing It Cosmetics brush that's not the Love is the Foundation brush. That's the name of these. They have other It Cosmetics foundation brushes if you would like to try it, but these are wonderful for buffing in your foundation. And the handle, I like the length of these handles, and it's just really easy to quickly buff in foundation. These are a little firmer, like more tightly bound than the airbrush one I just showed you. I bought this one first. It has like water in it or some type of liquid. I bought this one first, and it's supposed to be shaped like a heart, but it's starting to lose its shape. And this is also supposed to be shaped like a heart. Okay, they're both kind of not that heart-like. You can see what they're trying to go for here. When I first purchased this, they talked a lot about how the proceeds go towards breast cancer. So that's why I purchased another one, but they didn't mention it this year. So I assume the proceeds still go towards breast cancer research. But these are really wonderful foundation brushes by It Cosmetics. Another foundation brush that someone here on YouTube talked about that is affordable that I really like is this NYX Professional Makeup Foundation brush, and it just has a number on here. 37 is the number, and it's sort of angled. It has a little bit of an angle, and again, it's tightly bound, and it has that tightness that makes it really great for buffing out your foundation. So I leave this one here and use it a lot to buff out foundation, and it gives me such a beautiful finish. It's a wonderful foundation brush that I reach for all the time, and it's made by NYX. So definitely one to check out if you're looking for an affordable option. This is really, really good. This one I've had for a while, and I have actually purchased it a second time. I think my first one broke, and then I bought another one. My daughter really liked this brush. I gave her one for Christmas. So we both really like this Tarte brush. I won't remember all the names of these foundation brushes. Why I like this one, again, it's not super fluffy, a great buffing brush, but I think I might have even talked about this one in my last brush video, and I still reach for this one, and it's not too expensive. The reason I really like this is because it's so large, and when you're going to work or you're running late, this is the best one to grab because you can buff it in so quickly because of the size of the brush. And in this case, I really like the large kind of fat handle, and the size of the brush, like the length of the handle, makes it really easy to handle. I keep saying these things. This is a really great foundation brush from Tarte. At one point, I thought that they'd stopped making that one, but I have been able to find it here recently, so I will definitely link it below. And here's another really fun brush to have that I wanted to tell you about. This is from Shiseido, and it's like a face polishing brush, I believe. And again, firm bristles, really tightly bound. I love blending in foundation with this brush. It just kind of helps the foundation adhere to the skin so quickly. You can just buff it in so beautifully, and it just looks like it's part of your skin. I don't have a problem holding this small tool in my hand, but some people might get frustrated by that. Like, some people might not want a brush that's so small that you gotta hold like this. I don't usually ever have a problem applying foundation and polishing it and buffing it into my skin with this small tool. So it gives you such a beautiful application, and it is so quick. Like, you know how foundation slips around on the skin sometimes? It is going to take care of that. It's going to help it buff into the skin so fast. So very good brush, and in the time that I have had it, I have not seen any bristles fall from this brush. It's a very good quality brush. Love this brush by Shiseido. Highly recommend this one. So those are the brushes that I currently use for applying foundation that are synthetic. For concealer, I talk about two all the time because I always recommend this one for the Sephora sale. This one is Sephora number 56, and I have the old handle. They have changed how they make this brush now, so it looks a little different, but the brush is still the same. And this is like an airbrush foundation brush, but it is sort of small for me for foundation. If you like brushes that are this size, then you may love this as a foundation brush. I like it for concealer because it helps me move faster. So I just use it to apply my concealer in the center of my face. But again, this is actually a foundation brush and it is the number 56. Sephora makes very high quality brushes, so it's a great place to go to get brushes. This is the 57 brush. It's good to get in small places, so if you are having one of those days where you want to kind of follow this larger brush, you want to go back to kind of really get those dark circles like I didn't do today. Like you can still see them because I didn't have my good brushes. I did my best with the brushes that I have, but if I wanted to go back and kind of go in a little tighter to smaller areas, I might use this brush over this one. And it's also good if you want to put concealer in particular spots and you wanted to apply concealer. This is also good for that. So love this little small brush and have purchased multiples of both of them. I have 2 of these brushes right now in my collection. That's how much I like them and use them. Another Sephora brush that I really love and still use to this day is this one for highlighter. And this one is the number 98 highlighter brush. If you do not have a highlighter brush, like my best friend doesn't wear highlighter, but she bought some highlighter to try recently. And I keep telling her, okay, girl, you got to get a brush if you want it to apply correctly. So if you don't have a good highlighter brush, this is a great one. I was praying that I could find this brush somewhere in order to be able to talk to you guys about it today. This is the Sigma 3D HD Precision brush, and they don't sell this on Sigma's website anymore, or at least I could not find it. But I did find it sold somewhere else, so we are talking about it, and I am going to link it for you below because I love this brush for nose contour. I have no idea what it was made for. It seems like maybe they would have made it to be a concealer brush, perhaps. Maybe. Because I doubt that they made this just for nose contour. But it is perfect for nose contour because of the way it's shaped. So it's got this sort of edge that just rests right there on the nose. You guys see me use it all the time, but I didn't do nose contour today. But you do see me use this all the time to apply nose contour. I would use that other airbrush concealer brush. You know, if I don't have this, I'll use that. But honestly, I don't have a whole lot of brushes in my collection that serves this purpose. So this is one of those brushes that's very special to me. And I probably need to buy a backup of it because it's the one that I'm going to use every time for nose contour. And if I can't put my hands on it, I'll have to reach for that other brush. But I'd rather apply the product with this and then buff the product out with the airbrush brush from It Cosmetics. These are kind of brushes that I use just about every single time for that purpose. Every now and then I might reach for something else, but it's only because like I'm looking for this and can't find it. So this is my go-to brush for applying nose contour, and it works every time. So good. I have a couple of other brushes that, like, what would I do if I didn't have these? I don't know the answer. When it comes to carving out the brow, and I do have a second one of this brush and I use that today. This is the Sigma Flat Definer E15 brush, and I don't know if someone else makes this brush, but it is quite flat. It's a different type of brush fiber, and I think you can use it sort of to buff out things under the lash line. Like that's maybe what the intended purpose was, or stamp on like a liner on top of the lash line, that kind of thing. But I use it to carve out the brow here. And I don't know what I'd use if I didn't have this brush and the one I'm going to show you next. So I do have 2 of these, and they have held up. They're Sigma, and Sigma makes good brushes, and they have held up. I don't know what you guys use to kind of carve out your brows, but this is the best. for getting that sharp line, because any other brush just won't do that. I mean, that one and the one I'm going to show you are the two that I can get that type of line. Okay, so this is for carving out my brows mainly. That's the main thing I use it for. Don't know how I would live without it. This other one is the Sigma Cut Crease E62 brush, and this is another one that I can't remember if I was able to locate this on Sigma's website or not, but I'm showing it to you anyway, just so you get a feel for, you know, the type of brush I use. If Sigma no longer makes it, perhaps someone else makes it. It's kind of got a different type of fiber as well. It's synthetic, but it's made of something special. And it's a cut crease brush. So you guys remember many years ago, a few years ago, we were all cutting the crease, and this brush had the firmness and the shape for applying and packing down that concealer, so that you could then take eyeshadow over it, and you could use this to apply the eyeshadow as well to cut the crease. But I find I used it for that, but I also, because I don't really cut the crease anymore, but I used to use it for that, but I also find that it's great for carving out the brows as well. So I'm either using the one I just showed you or this brush for carving out my brows. So you got to get something like this. Not a fluffy eyeshadow brush or something like that. It needs to be something that isn't fluffy. And this one has an angle, so that works great, but a firm, thin brush that's not fluffy. An angled liner brush could also work, but these are my favorites for carving out the brows. This brush was sent to me free from Sigma when I ordered some other brushes, and I have 2 of these that I got free. And this, I love this brush, guys. Don't know how I would live without it. This is the Sigma Large Concealer Brush. It is a concealer brush, but I've never used it for that. Real Techniques makes a brush that's shaped like this as well. So I do have a Real Techniques version of this, but I like this one better. And I use this to take the concealer off. Like, I will use this kind of to wipe off any excess concealer on the bottom as well as above the brow. And that's the only thing I use it for, is for wiping off concealer. So again, what would I use if I didn't have this? Like, doesn't it make sense? It's skinny, it's small, it's thin. Like, doesn't that make sense? It doesn't move. What else do you use if I don't have this? So I don't know what everybody else uses, but this is what I'm using. I'm going to show these together. These are both Sigma brushes. I first purchased the E40 brush, then went back and got E38. This one is a little smaller, and it's a crease brush, and this is like a blending brush. And when I first got these, I was like, these are interesting because they're sort of flat on the top, but these have turned out to be wonderful, wonderful blending brushes. And before I got hip to the natural brushes, these were my go-to brushes for applying my eyeshadow looks. They are wonderful blending brushes, and I think I have maybe 2 of this one, the E40, and I only purchased 1 of this, but I love the E40 the most. If I was going to recommend one over the other, it would be this one, but this is a little smaller, so you could use these 2 brushes and take care of all of your blending needs and be good to go. So love these 2 blending brushes by Sigma Beauty. Another blending brush that I reach for all the time is this Pro Blending Brush, and it is the number 27, and it is a relatively fluffy brush. It's shaped a little differently than the one that I just mentioned, and I love this brush because I can pretty much do my entire eyeshadow look except applying whatever goes on the lid with this one brush. Like, I can use it in the transition area, use it in the crease, put it on the outer corner, and just still have this one brush in my hand and not have to switch brushes. So if you're like on a budget and you're like, what's one I can buy? And there are a couple I'm going to talk about or have talked about that could also serve that purpose, but this one is definitely one, and maybe some of the ones that came in the set that I have, but you can get the one brush and do everything with it. Very, very good brush. love this one. And again, they look different now. I don't think they have the silver part anymore, so they look a little different than this one, but that tells you something. These brushes are very good quality and they don't break. These are long lasting, so love these. This is one that's newer to my collection. This is the number 24 and it's a Sephora brush. It's like a small blending brush, and I specifically went to Sephora's website looking for a small blender because I wanted some more options for the outer corner here, as well as underneath the lash line, something that I could quickly buff out product. This is not super small for under the lash line, but I do use it that way sometimes to kind of buff everything out, and I use it in small places. So I just think it's nice to have a smaller brush, especially if you have small eyes, but having a smaller brush to do more detailed work. And this is by Sephora Collection. So really like this one, and I reach for it all the time. This is my go-to lid brush. It's a small brush from Smith Cosmetics. I can't remember the name of this one, and I don't think they have it written on here, but it's like a flat eyeshadow brush for applying the shadow to the lid. And what's nice about this is it's got a pointed tip. It kind of is shaped like this at the top, so you can carve out right here if you want to have more of a sharp line when applying eyeshadow to the mobile lid. Then this will allow you to do it, and it's a smaller brush, so it can get in all the way down in the inner corner if you need to. And I believe they also make this brush in a larger size, but I only purchased the small one, and I keep this one here in my home, and I reach for this one all the time when I'm here applying my makeup here. This is my go-to eyeshadow brush for my lid. It's the go-to one. Really small, a nice one to have in your collection. Those were the synthetic brushes that I use. And I know it's like, girl, do you really reach for all these brushes? But girl and guys, yes I do. Most of the brushes that are over here are face brushes, but I do have a couple of eyeshadow brushes. I've been talking to you guys about this brush that I got from SONIA G, and this one is the Jumbo Base, and it's like an angled brush, so I'm pushing it back so you can kind of see how angled it is, but it's like this. You can put your foundation on like this. It's a foundation brush. You can buff it in. This brush is made of synthetic and natural bristles. This is probably my #1 go-to foundation brush right now. I reach for this one every single day, and I reach for some of the others sometimes. Like when this one's dirty and it's like, oh, this is getting a little dirty. Let me reach for another brush. And it's probably just because this is newest to my collection, I'm reaching for it more. But I really love how this applies foundation. I love the size of this brush. It's just kind of a perfect size for foundation. It does have natural and synthetic bristles. I feel like I need to wash this brush more frequently to keep the foundation from building up in the brush. But it is such a good foundation brush. So definitely highly recommend this. And again, the craftsmanship of these brushes is just unbelievable. And I haven't had a SONIA G brush break on me yet. This is the Classic Base by SONIA G, and I don't think that this brush is made any longer. I think this one is discontinued. But the reason I'm pointing it out to you is they make another one called the Mini Base that probably would be even better for what I use it for. This was made for foundation, but when I purchased it, I thought this is too small for foundation. It was just too little for me. So I started using it to apply concealer, and I really love using it for that purpose. But they make one that looks just like this, shaped just like this, but is a little smaller than this, called the Mini Base, that could be used for the same purpose. So if you're looking for a brush to buff out concealer, you really want that kind of seamless look with your concealer, this is a really great brush, and I think the Mini Base would be just as good, even though I don't own that one. So I'll link the Mini Base, but I wanted to show you this one because it's slightly smaller than this one. So also very good brush. I'm showing you this brush because I hope it will come back. This is the Wayne Goss the Airbrush brush, and I've talked about this one quite a bit here on my channel. And Wayne Goss stopped making this brush along with all his brushes, and now he's making a comeback, and he's partnered with somebody else, and he seems to be making new brushes. And some of these squirrel haired brushes have not reappeared, but that doesn't mean they won't. So that's why I wanted to tell you guys about it in case he is going to begin making it again, because I really love this for under eye powder. I think it could also be a good like highlighting brush, but this is such a unique shape to me, and it's a fluffy brush. It's sort of fluffy and has a lot of movement. So I like picking up powder and applying powder here, and I will apply it here in these small places. That's what I use this brush for, and I only have one. It makes me so upset that I didn't get a second one. I didn't know he was getting ready to kind of go out of business and then restart. But this is such a good brush for that purpose. I went on the website, I was going to buy this again, and they didn't have it. So I needed another small brush like this. I found this one by the Yano series. It's a Beautylish brand, I believe, and it's the number 5. And it has a dome shape. It's shaped completely differently from this one. It's fatter, but it does the same thing. So I now use this one to do the very same things, and I apply powder like this. And this is a really good brush. And I think one of the reasons that I love these brushes is it has squirrel hair. So squirrel hair brushes are much softer. The concealer area is a very delicate area, and you don't want the concealer to move around when you're applying the powder and that kind of thing. So these smaller brushes make it easier to powder the concealer area, and it's just a softer finish. I forgot to mention, but any type of natural brush that's just truly natural hair should be used for powder products only. But these fusion products that SONIA G has created that have natural and synthetic can be used for liquid and cream. Another kind of pricey powder brush. I love this brush, and I use this one for powder the most, like where I work. This is my go-to powder brush. This is a La Mer powder brush. I'd always wanted this brush when it came out. I thought this looks like a nice powder brush to add, and I really love this. I like that I again can powder so quickly with this brush, and I find that I don't have to use as much powder. I don't know what it is about the brush, but the way it distributes powder on my face, I don't feel like I have to use as much. But you can see, like, this is so large in comparison to the two I just showed you, that this is much better for applying powder around the perimeter of my face and on my cheeks versus getting all the way up here where the concealer is. So if you are looking for a luxury product, as far as a powder brush goes, this one is really, really good. If you're not, then the IT Cosmetics one is good as well that I just showed you. But I really love this one. I love the size of it, and I'm just happy to have it in my collection, and I do use it all the time. It's another powder brush that I use and I keep here that I love, love, love. This is a Chikuhodo brush, and it is the powder brush, and I think it's a Z something. This one might be Z9. They are part of the Z series. It doesn't have the Z number on the brush handle, but I'll link it down below. And this is the powder brush made of squirrel hair. I love using this to apply powder or to sweep it away once I have applied it. So after I've applied the powder, it can sweep away powder from my face without disturbing the rest of my makeup. If you ever get to try a squirrel-haired brush, you will understand what I'm talking about when I say softness. So any of the brushes that have squirrel hair in them are extremely soft, and they give a more soft application of whatever the product is. It doesn't move product around on your face. It's just good for buffing something in and softening the edges of products on your face. It's good for softly applying powder or sweeping it away without disturbing your makeup. It just gives you a wonderful experience. So this one is by Chikuhodo. So I'm gonna kind of show you the other one beside it. I think this is maybe a Z8 if this one is a Z9. And this is a cheek brush, and I love applying blush with this brush. So it's the perfect size for blush. It gives you a very soft application of blush. You're not gonna apply too much product. It's perfect, and it makes your blush look super natural on. I didn't use it today because these are all clean, but it gives you a very natural blush application, soft on your cheeks, gorgeous, by Chikuhodo. Then my go-to brush for applying highlighter is this one. I think it might be the Z4, but this is the highlighter brush. This is a soft brush for applying highlighter, and it just helps you sweep it all over your cheek and blend it in and get rid of harsh lines very easily. It picks up product so well, all of these do, and they just give you gorgeous application and a lovely experience because of the softness of these brushes. So you can kind of tell that they are different in sizes and serve such a wonderful purpose. Beautiful brushes, wonderful craftsmanship, does not shed, long lasting, worth every penny. The Yano brush looks very similar to my Chikuhodo brush, but it's really easy for me to tell them apart because the Yano has like an angled handle and it's taller. But I use this one for powder, use this one for highlight. Love, 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 love these brushes. So I apologize in advance about the cost of this brush, but I have to still tell you guys about it. I keep bringing it up because it's so good. This is a Serum Beauty face brush, and the handle, I always tell you guys the handle is purple, but it's sort of a green and purple because I think a lot of times on camera it looks green depending on the angle. I keep trying to like hold it at different angles so you can see all the colors, but it has an ombre handle that is green and purple on the end. And this brush currently costs $260. I purchased it 30% off when I used to work at Sephora, and it's also squirrel hair, and it's a little firmer than the Chikuhodo powder brush. For comparison, it's similar in size, but the powder brush is larger than this one, which is actually kind of good because, and this one is fluffier. This is fluffier, this is a little tighter brush. What makes that good is this could serve a lot more purposes. I'm able to buff in, so I could go over my makeup right now and buff over it, and it doesn't disturb the makeup. It would just kind of give you a very seamless finish from buffing the product in. And you can also use this for blush. So if I really want a beautifully buffed natural finish blush application, then I will grab this brush. You can also turn it on the side and sweep the highlighter all over your cheek here, and you can just highlight the face with this brush. So even though this is a pricier brush, it serves more purposes. And you really could buy this one brush and do all those things. You could buff with it, you can apply cheek product, you can apply bronzer, you can bronze the skin, and you can highlight. It does it all. This is just a nice one to add to your collection, a nice luxury product to have that I am really happy that I own, and I reach for it quite a bit, especially again when I'm in a hurry and I don't have time to keep sitting a brush down, reaching for another brush, sitting a brush down, reaching for another brush. I'll just grab this one and do all those things I just described. I'll buff in my bronzer, I'll apply cheek, I'll do everything. And the one thing about bronzer with this brush is, even though you can pick up quite a bit of product with this brush, the way it applies the bronzer is going to be a softer application. It's not going to be harsh. And that's great. So if you are a person that you love a more seamless look to your makeup, you don't want to look makeup-y, you want to look really natural, this is a great brush for that. I recently talked about it, I think in a favorites video, because I use this to apply a blush when I was doing my Sephora recommendations video, and I loved how my blush looked that particular day. It made me love that blush that I was wearing. It was a House Labs blush, I think Dragon Fruit. It's like a really hot pink, and I love that blush, but that day I loved it more. This just buffed that blush out in such a beautiful way. So I have been reaching for it even more ever since that video, but I love this brush. And I'm glad I do, because it is pricey. I would hate to buy an expensive brush and hate it. I'm going to talk about these 3 eyeshadow brushes, and then we'll finish up with face brushes. This is another discontinued brush, but I was searching to see if I could find one that was similar, and Serum Beauty, who makes that brush I just put down, that expensive brush, makes some eyeshadow brushes that seem to be squirrel hair and shaped like this. So I think the medium brush might be similar in size and shape to this brush, so I'm going to link it down below. But this one is made by Wayne Goss, and I hope he brings it back, because guys, I use this brush every single time I apply eyeshadow as a transition shadow, except for today. It is so large. It's such a large brush. It's squirrel hair brush. It just sweeps the eyeshadow all over the transition area and even into the crease. It gives you very fast application of eyeshadow, but it is super soft. It's a soft application because it's squirrel hair. So if you want more pigment, you would use a goat hair brush. But this is perfect for transition. You want it to make other products that go on top of the transition, like you want it to blend more seamlessly with your crease eyeshadow. So this is great for applying transition eyeshadow. So I always start my eyeshadow looks with this, and they don't make it anymore. And I'm like, what am I gonna do? So I'm gonna be on the hunt for others that are this large, that are made of squirrel hair, because this is definitely different in size and shape to my other ones. So I'm getting ready to talk about this brush next. See how large the head of that brush is in comparison. So a lot of your average eyeshadow brushes are more this size, and this is larger. So this is really good. Again, they don't make this anymore, but I'm telling you, because Wayne Goss is doing some interesting things, bringing back his eyeshadow brushes. So it's a possibility he may bring this back. But if he doesn't, I will link the Serum Beauty one, because I do think it's similar in size. The next eyeshadow brush is this one by Chikuhodo. This is the number 10 brush. And I reach for this brush all the time to apply eyeshadow to the outer corner and the crease, and just to blend after I use that Wayne Goss brush, because it's smaller in size, but I can apply everything that I need to on my eye. Sometimes if I'm in a hurry and I don't want to grab the Wayne Goss one, or I can't put my hands on it, I could apply everything that I need to as far as blending with this one brush. And I'm not sure if one of the reasons I reach for it is because it's so much taller than the other brushes. It's always easy for me to put my hands on it. But I also just love the size of it and love how effective it is at applying eyeshadow. It's fluffy enough, but not too fluffy. It's made of goat hair, and it's just really great for getting that outer corner and into the crease, and it just gives a beautiful finish. So I love this brush, and I equally love this brush. This one is the number 9 brush, and it is flat, and I will oftentimes reach for this to apply eyeshadow on top of the lid. So there are many days when I might use that Wayne Goss brush and these 2 brushes, and that's it. If I don't use the Wayne Goss brush, I will use these 2 brushes, and that's it. So if you don't want to buy one of those other brush sets that has all of those brushes in it and it's going to be more expensive, you can buy these 2 brushes, and that's it. You don't even have to have anything else. You can buy this. This is going to serve you well for blending, and then this one for applying anything to your lid. This could also be used underneath the lash line if you needed to. So these work for just about everything you need on your eye. These are so good. So definitely am happy that I have them. Beautiful craftsmanship again. Japanese brushes. They're by Chikuhodo. Wonderful. Bronzer brushes. I'm going to mention this one first because this is a traditional brush. It's so funny, guys. Today I had to use this is dirty, but this is the Tom Ford brush, and this is the number 5 brush. This is before the brushes became synthetic. This is actually a goat haired brush, but Tom Ford started making these brushes as synthetic brushes, and this one actually sheds a little bit here, the Tom Ford, but rephr makes kind of a dupe, and they're basically the same brush, except the rephr one doesn't shed, and it's not as scratchy. The Tom Ford brush is a little scratchier than this one is. This is much softer, and they're both goat hair. And again, Tom Ford makes synthetic brushes now, but they used to be goat hair. if I have the option, I will reach for the rephr brush over the Tom Ford brush for bronzer application. If you're looking for a, typical bronzer brush that most people use to apply bronzer, like the right shape of brush, this is the one to get. This is the one to get. If you want that traditional bronzer brush, this is the one to get. It is just perfect for sweeping bronzer all over your face. It's the best. It's the best. There may be others that are out there that are good, but it's the best. The goat hair allows you to pick up a lot of pigment and really get that pigment onto the cheeks and everywhere you need to bronze. So this is, again, fantastic. And I don't think I told you, but this is the number 22 brush by rephr, and it is an amazing bronzer brush. So definitely one to check out if you're looking for a bronzer brush. Even though I really, really love that rephr brush, I probably use this one more. I do use this one more right now. I think this is just newer, and this is the Face Pro brush, and it's newer to my collection. It's by SONIA G. It's pretty. I love SONIA G's handles. I mean, she makes a beautiful brush, and I bought this one after that one. So I reached for this more. It's an angled brush, and it's fluffier, a little fluffier than the one I just showed you. So it's not a traditional bronzer brush, but great for applying bronzer. But you can apply blush or other powder products with this, but I use it for bronzer. And I actually talked about it, I think, in a recent favorites, which prompted me to ask you guys, would you like to see my brush collection? Because someone asked me, what was the brush you used to apply that bronzer? And this was the brush. And it's angled and fluffy, and so it just allows you to just sweep everywhere, and it just applies bronzer beautifully. It's so unique. I love it. It's a large, fluffy, angled brush. So it's beautiful for applying bronzer. It's just going to diffuse it just right. It diffuses it. The angle just diffuses the product on your cheek and everywhere you apply it. So SONIA G, clap, 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 clap. These two would be the ones that I'd say, hey, you might want to have these in your collection for bronzer, period. These two. The final brush is probably one of my newest face brushes, I believe. The final brush that I want to recommend is one that I use for bronzer and contour. So this is the Niacinamide Pro, and it is also by SONIA G, and I think it's a newer brush in her collection of brushes. See, she discontinued some brushes and she brings new ones out. So this is one of the newer ones. So it is a sort of a fan brush. She has another fan brush that I would have talked to you guys about that I think is now discontinued, so I didn't mention it. But this is sort of like a fan shape, and it's a little thinner than my other fan brush by her. And it's going to pack the bronzer on a little more pigmented. If I have a bronzer that is lighter in color, doesn't show up as well, I might grab this brush because I feel like I get more color payoff with this brush, where the other SONIA G brush is fluffier. This is more dense, and so it's going to apply the product in a deeper way. It's going to allow me to see the product better. It's also good for contour because of the size. It's larger, but because it's pigmented, I can just go back and forth here and really contour the cheeks with this. I have other brushes that I use to contour with that, again, are no longer sold, so I didn't want to talk to you guys about those. I have other brushes that I use for that, but of the ones in my collection that are still sold, this is one that is good for contouring the face or applying your bronzer in a way that is very concentrated because of the way that the brush is made. It's not too fluffy. It's not too fluffy. It is fluffy, but it is more dense, a little more dense, and great for applying bronzer and contour around the face. All right, guys, so there you have it. Those are my current favorite brushes. I have dozens of brushes that I still have in my collection that I use from time to time and I reach for. But again, these are the ones that are kind of my go-to right now. And some of my other brushes that I've had for a while, they don't make anymore. You can't go wrong with any of the brushes that I mentioned to you guys. I definitely wanted to pare it down and recommend to you all the brushes that I really, really love. And I think that they're all very, very good. If you decide to try any of them out, I think that you will love them as well. If you have any of these brushes in your current collection, let's talk about it in the comments down below. I would love to know your thoughts about these brushes as well. So I hope that you have enjoyed today's video and found it to be helpful. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below and I will respond. And if you've not already subscribed to my channel, go ahead and click that subscribe button before you leave. So I'll be seeing you guys again very soon in my next video. So until the next time we meet again, this is Savvy signing out.